All right. So, here with my buddy Brett, badass dude, covered in mud from a recent mountain bike ride.
Right off the hill.
And so basically, a little setup. You're one of the most continuously positive dudes I've ever met. And not being like that myself, but I strive to be. I figure I'll just kind of pick your brain as far as being just a super motivated type of dude.
Wow. Awesome, dude. It's such an honor to be here, and I'm stoked on you. And it's funny that you say that you are cynical because you mask it well. If that is the case, yes.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's all a mask for sure. So, I mean, first thing I wonder is, like, have you always been this way? Do you think you're born with a certain brain wiring? Do you think it's kind of like when you kick ass at mountain biking, that's obviously you have some natural ability, but you kind of hone that skill? Where do you think you're just being positive and driven comes from?
I mean, 1,000%. I think it's nurture. I just talked to my dad about this recently, about nurture over nature, and like, are human beings born kind? Are we born happy, positive? And he's like, no, kids are born, and you have to teach them to share. You have to teach them to be kind. You have to teach them to be positive. So I actually think that as much as I believe in humans, and I think that humans are awesome, I truly think that we are born. Kids pick on people. Some of the most kids are cruel to each other,
Yeah.
And it's like you almost like I had a very positive dad. He used to do like kind of books on tape, and he was in sales, and so I think he understood the mission ahead of him for brainwashing a little person, and I do think it is a type of brainwashing, but it's just kind of controlling a mindset. So for me, it started with my dad, and always we never used the word "I can't" in the household. Like that was like, dude, that's crazy. Like,
wow.
Don't say that, you go run in that corner and give yourself a little 5-minute timeout. Like, again, my father was in the military, Army, but he also was kind of like a hippie, dude. So we came from, his father was this like 6'4" German guy, and who worked in a machinist, not a Nazi, just want to preface that.
Thank you.
Yeah, not a Nazi. But, with my dad, I had a weird upbringing because it was his discipline, but also super free-spirited. I mean, when I was a kid, like 12, he would let me take out his Honda Accord and go driving. He trusted me to drive it.
Wow.
Yeah. So huge amounts of responsibility, but also like with almost reckless abandonment. So it's this weird dichotomy of discipline and responsibility with free spirit and just seize the day mentality.
Huh.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a super good point, because you have to give, especially kids, but people, the freedom to make their own choices. But you also, like you said, I mean, kids, if you give them the choice, they'll just keep all the candy. They don't want to share inherently, usually.
Totally, dude.
It's kind of an outlier if you see that naturally. So I think that's a good point to our kind of survivalist nature being left over and having to really, like you said, nurture that aspect of a human.
Think about it. Isn't it a rarity when you'll hear parents talk? Like, that kid, he's so kind. It's almost like they expect their kids to have a shitty little attitude and to be this demon, not a demon, but like it's so awesome when you do hear a parent like, I remember, dude, there's my buddy Tanner, my best friend, like all the parents knew he was a nice kid. Mm-hmm. Well, all of us were trying to be like little shits, and we had the case of the me first, gimme gimmies. Tanner was like a nice soul, when kids are trying to be macho and in competition, and Tanner like would still be your friend. And so I learned a lot from him because I was really, competitive, but also I had great parents. So I knew I wanted to be nice, but I also knew on the schoolyard that you had to there was some form of hierarchy and you had to prove yourself, and so I was highly cognitive as a young man. Like I knew I could see the roadmap of how, I knew that there were certain things to do in certain scenarios to get to the objection and to have as least amount of flack in the process. So I always try to take the path with the least amount of resistance, take the straightest line possible. And so I was pretty I grew up in Southern California where I was, in a pretty rough neighborhood. My mom was a school teacher at the school I taught at, or where she taught at where I went. And, she's held up at gunpoint in her classroom. There were drive-by
Damn.
shootings. I was one of like literally 4 or 5 white kids, but it wasn't like black and Mexican. Down there, it's Jamaican, Indonesian, Polynesian, Vietnamese, Asian, Korean, black and Mexican. So I mean, like it's the epitome of the melting pot. So again, I knew at a young age that there were little tricks to get through life to get to where you want to be, and to just not deal with any bullshit along the way. Because again, kids being cruel, man, kids can ruin your life. I saw kids just get picked on for really just being nice, and ironically, people viewed that as weakness.
Yeah, especially at a younger age.
Yeah,
we tend to like just kind of gang up on the weakest link. And it's our nature, but as you get older, you obviously grow and learn that that's not the way to be. But some people never get rid of that,
Right. And I think the older you get, it's a very attractive quality, And when you're young, you're just so insecure that you're just dying for approval. So right and wrong, but you're going with the wrong because at least you'll be accepted.
Totally. Yeah, that's a really great point.
So yeah, so come full circle. That's what Tanner reminded me as a child, as like a younger guy through middle school and high school, that dude, you don't got to be this hot shot. You don't got to be this. You don't got to be really. Not that I was ever mean, but you can still be kind to people, and it actually made me want to be just like a positive leader, and I really valued that. That's kind of what my parents installed me too. But you can be a gnarly badass and still treat people super duper well. And so having Tanner as a friend through life, checking me, my parents checking me, and then also just being brave enough to try it out. That kind of getting some positive responses, oh yeah, dude, you don't got to be a dickhead. Sticking up for my little brother in elementary school. There's a couple of times where I stood up for him, and that felt really good. And sometimes they were my age group picking on my little brother, and most people I think would have rolled over and let him pick on their brother, where I was like, no, fuck that. I remember throwing balls at kids. And it helps that I haven't grown since 6th grade. So,
yeah.
So I was a bigger kid. Yeah.
Full beard.
Yeah, no.
Well, yeah, I like your answer. I mean, long story short, it seems like you totally believe in nurturing and training those pathways in your brain, just like when you learn an instrument.
Totally.
Because it's easy to forget. You have to kind of make it habit, just like fighters or anything kind of rely on their intuition, their foundation. And so if you haven't taken the time to refine that, then your foundation is pretty shoddy.
Dude, I want to just piggyback that because it's so true. They train you in sports and fighting. It's like when you're completely fatigued and gassed, you're going to go to square one. Your square one better be tight and precise. When you're just, and that's kind of like with life. Like when you've had a rough week, job, no job, whatever, girlfriend, no girl, like when life is shitting on you or it's just rough, where's your square one? Is your foundation as solid as it can be? And so that's kind of like if you're thinking about, training and positivity, yeah, definitely, man. You got to really practice it, and it's a very short-lived thing. I always say you got to re-up it. You got to go back and get more because motivation and positivity, it's a dwindling commodity in the sense of most people don't have it, and it's easy to be influenced by people who are negative.
Yeah. Negativity seems to hold so much more weight than positivity. Like you remember the shitty thing someone says to you rather than the million nice things.
Isn't that the truth though? Like the one shit thing you get all year that just haunts your dreams. Where like you have great people in your life and you almost just oversee it or overlook it.
Yeah, it's really easy to do. That was a profound thought. When life's shitting on you, going back to square one, because it's so simple, but sometimes it's hard to see what's simplest right in front of you. And man, quite honestly, my square one isn't that solid. Like when I go under extreme stress, like many people, I tend to, rather than say, fuck this, I'm going to make it my bitch, I kind of recoil and like I get unmotivated and I want to drink too much. And it's like sometimes you win that day and you go for a run and you take care of errands or whatever and you're clean living, and then something can happen and you go back to, like you said, your kind of instincts.
Yeah,
man. And it really takes nurturing, and being almost 30 years old, I've just always been confused as to whether it's brain chemistry or just, I mean, kicking your own ass until you get it right.
I think it's practice, and I think it's repetition. Like you're talking about everything you just said right there, which I totally identify with, and I think the maybe where again it's not genetic, where I might think in just a different way than you is just that, or not even that, or just something that people have showed me is that this battle is forever. It's not like you have a good day then a bad day. It's like you're always gonna kind of want to wake up and you're gonna see, man, how motivated am I today? And some days it's really hard to have a positive outlook if you're not that motivated and you view the world a little differently. So, I mean, my best thing is just to know you're always going to like have this constant battle. I think we see a lot of success stories where people are like, man, I just kind of like how I think The Secret is a farce, the book that Oprah loved really back.
Right.
It's like, dudes, it's like I thought I had a Lamborghini in my driveway, and there it was. And no, you're talking to like the most insanely successful human beings on earth. Joe Rogan's talked about this, but it's like you're choosing like upper echelon elitist like sample studies. You know, I want to see the common guy who every day wakes up, supports his kid, and still goes to work and does a double shift or something. You know, that's the real the trick. If that guy can do it, you know, wow, that's pretty awesome. So I think the way to look at it is that there's going to be this constant battle. Like, it's not like you're going to like tomorrow go to your job, kill it, and then everything's great forever, you know? I just think we're just climbing this hill consistently, and you got to try to find the positives in each day and just know that this is what life is about. You know, I contribute to society. I'm a hard worker. I treat my friends and family well. You know, those are little victories that you can do that, you know, you don't need a gold star for, you know?
Yeah, that's a really legitimate point. I mean, we're looking for validation as well, like the gold star. It's like you want to show the world, hey, look how great I am at, you know, maybe nothing, but, you know, like your job or you know, mountain biking or whatever.
Validation. It is. No, you nailed it. You want people to say that guy's awesome.
Of course. You know? That's what we all want.
Like when you go to a party, you hope your friends are like, dude, this is Alex. This guy is XYZ, right? You know?
Right.
Yeah, no, that thing, if you say you don't want that, you're lying, you know?
Yeah, it's a somewhat selfish pursuit, but I think it's good if it means that, you know, just like religion, I'm not personally religious, but if it's a good structure for you and gives you the boundaries you need to behave and treat people right and be successful, whether financially or just in life, I mean, I think it can be a valuable resource. And there is a way to institute that mentality without going full on religion. And I'm looking for it.
Well, I'm right there with you, man, because I'm not religious in any way. But I absolutely, what I know is that nobody knows. And I think there's something to, you know, if you've ever done a hallucinogenic or whatever, it's like, there's something more to this world. And I think that human beings, since we use words as tools and we convey meaning in words, sometimes there aren't words that humans have created for things that happen in life. You know, and I think as we go farther advance further, go farther down the rabbit hole, I mean, I think we're just going to be uncovering shit in the future here, you know, with stem cells, with, I don't know, just traveling through space, interstellar space, you know, just, there's so much more to this, and I just find it ironic that we always, as human beings, believe we know it all. And I think that science sometimes can get in the way because there's a scientific method, and only certain things can be proved by the scientific method. There's a shit ton of stuff that you just can't prove, you know, and that's an issue because, you know, unfortunately, thoughts don't fossilize. You know, traditions don't fossilize. The only thing that fossilizes is some carbon shit, you know, bones and stuff, and so how do we remember what happened, you know, or where we're going? I don't know. I think that's going to be, you know, again, it's a Western versus Eastern culture thing, but it's testable hypothesis. I think it's great. I think it explains a lot, and I love physics and science. I live that, but I think there's something that's so much more profound that's out there that we just can't quantify with a scientific method. You know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's, you know, I've been really fascinated lately with, or maybe not so much fascinated as slapped in the face by, you know, you can want something so bad, but I didn't realize I hadn't done anything to work to where I wanted to get. I just wanted it really bad.
Right.
You know? So when you start having those thoughts, like you said, they don't fossilize. You can't just say you want to win the lottery and then it happens like The Secret. Like, you need to actually take the steps. So back, kind of tying it back into motivation, when you're in those times, what does your brain think? What keeps you on track and makes you follow through? Because sometimes not following through on something can be 2 steps back rather than 1 step forward.
Yeah. I mean, I think just addressing that every human has this struggle, dude. I used to think as a kid I was the only... My parents have no idea. They don't know the mischievous things I'm up to. They don't know I'm smoking cigarettes. They don't know all the temptations of life. Because you hold them on this pedestal.
Right.
Like your parents lived in a castle. Like,
they're not even people in your mind.
Totally. They're these like iconic fucking fairy tales. So basically... I can almost guarantee that what you're going through, I go through it consistently, you know. And it's just realizing that there are so many other people out there who are going through this battle. I think realizing you're not alone and realizing that you're human and realizing that this life, especially in this modern era, it's not easy in any way. But this is what I say. This is something I learned in college, dude. It's that you got to show up. And showing up is all of it. And again, writing stuff down and having self-belief, that's 2 other really critical parts. But I mean showing up, and I say this in the sense that when I was in college, you know, there's heavy drinking, there's tons of partying, but I just made a rule and a thing to myself where no matter what, I just go to class. Mm-hmm. If I'm hungover, if I'm tired, whatever it is, I go to class. And what that means is I don't even ever take out a notebook or a pen. Some days I would just sit there and I would struggle. But the information was flowing over me, and I was developing routines and habits. Mm-hmm. And so, again, I think a lot of this stuff comes from, you know, just trying your best to, I don't know, I think when you do one good thing, you feel really good, and as you do good things, they become repetition, and then you develop habits and routines, and then you just start getting in the habit, and you pull yourself up because it feels good, because you know you made the right decision. I tell you, put it into bite-sized pieces. Dude, I almost think some people set these broad goals and these vision boards with their castles and their Ferraris. I'm like, dude, that's way too big. Like, you got to start small, and then you got to really just do little things, and then try to do it 7 times in a row. I think it takes 21 days to develop a habit of moderate strength, you know. Mm-hmm. So if you can do it for 3 weeks, you know, you'll probably do it for 4 weeks. So I don't know. I really think it's just like small habits. Don't get crazy, and just try to do like, I don't know, you know how that feeling you get, Alex, like when you don't do something and you know you should have, and you just live with that shit guilt?
Yeah,
and
totally.
That is the kryptonite for us. Mm-hmm. And then instead of moving forward, we just kind of reside in that self-resentment for not doing what we should have done. And if we can avoid that, whatever that is, I think that is when you can really start feeling great about yourself, and then kind of keeping that positivity going. Yeah,
momentum is so crucial. You put it well. It's like when you don't go to class, and then the next day you're like, shit, that was an hour and a half. I could have just snoozed through that, and I would have had my attendance checked.
Right.
Or when you go on a run or something when you didn't want to, and it's raining out, even if you had a shit run, you still feel better the rest of that day.
Walk.
Because
go for a walk. Yeah.
A small victory, like you said. Dude. And, you know, I like that point, because on the converse side of that, when, I know for me personally, I get a little over dramatic, especially when life is overwhelming.
Yeah.
So like you know, you have a shit day at work, and then you're like fighting with your girl, and someone cuts you off in traffic, and then you spiral out and you're like, and my dad's an asshole, and you just like start letting the world crush down on you, when, like you said with the goals, it's like, man, you eat an elephant one bite at a time, man. Don't look at the whole thing. But that's really tricky. How, again, do you think that's practice? How do you keep, the momentum is so crucial.
Dude, and this is what I do. I carry multiple pieces of paper. You go into my car right now. It has what I'm doing tomorrow. It has your podcast on it.
Oh, man.
It has my bike ride. It has people I got to call. And, dude, I have like 3 of these things that just lay. One's in my house, one's in my car. And I just, dude, if you look at 3 of my notepads, dude, some of them overlap. You know, but I just want to make sure I'm writing that thought down. Dude, writing shit down is, in my opinion, other than self-belief and having a positive obsession, like writing it down is where it's at. And it's just so easy to forget. You know, I just saw the statistic yesterday. We check our phones 85 times a day. I don't know about you, but right now I'm actually in a couple online debates on Facebook. And we can't escape politics and government. So on the back of my mind, I want to like yell at this kid after this.
Totally.
Just give him a piece of my righteous, mindset. Which who knows? I could be just as wrong. It's all biases. It's all another can of worms. But writing it down so you don't forget what's important. I think writing it first in the morning too. Just giving yourself a list of shit to do. Like it just puts it all out there. And I'm big on roadmaps. Like I like just having, all right, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, it's Monday, but this is the first thing on the list. It's the most important thing, so I just do it. And then again, with that momentum that you talked about, by like the second activity, I feel really good. And then I've done 2 good things that day. So self-esteem is rising, some endorphins are going, positivity is going. Yeah. But it's every day you got to jumpstart yourself. And that's what I'm saying. It's everlasting. It's forever. Mm-hmm. Like if you have a great week at work, don't rest on it. Yeah. That's when you got to hit it. They say in sales, the best time to sell is after a sale. And dude, that's how life is. Dude, the best time to get good at life or to get positive is after a good week. Wow. Don't rest. Don't cruise. Like just keep it going.
That's a really awesome point and so perfect. One of my questions I had written down was, how do you prioritize, if you do, your short and long-term goals? And so, I mean, you kind of jumped ahead of me. That's awesome, man. Of course you do that. That's so perfect. So as far as goals, I mean, for you personally and just in life, I mean, what does your proverbial tomorrow look like? What are you aiming for?
So I've, like you, I've listened to a lot of like the motivation. For me, I like it. I know some people think it's hogwash, and I think it's, so you just got to like pick and pull. That's what I think the key to life is picking and pulling, what works for you. I don't know, for me, every morning I wake up, I put on a positive mindset. There's School of Greatness by Lewis Howes. That's a really good one. Or anything by Jim Rohn or Les Brown or any of these guys. But or even like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I find him to be highly motivating. Politics aside in his acting career, like that dude just accomplished so much.
Yeah.
So I start off with that, just playing as I'm brushing my teeth. As I'm building lunch. But for my long-term goals, I put it into 5 years, like where I want to be. But I wish I had brought this in. I have this thing of just like what I want in the near future, and it's stuff as basic as I say it's stuff like I am always. When you're writing a list, say I am, I do, I perform not, I will. I'm going to talk in the present tense, and that's just what I've read and learned. But yeah, so I'd say that I drive, like right now I'm a 4Runner, but I would like to keep that and also get a blue STI Subaru WRX with charcoal rims.
Hell yeah.
Low profile tires, 6-speed transmission, leather, black with red stitching. Like I've thought about it so in-depthly, so like really have clear things. I always say I treat my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister well. I treat my friends well. Just, I say I make 20 calls a day. I am a top performer. I am a good person. There's affirmations. I think do you do any affirmations?
I don't. A lot of times I think they're important, but I don't do them because I have a hard time believing myself. You know what I mean?
Dude,
like
totally.
When someone else tells me something, I tend to believe them more than when I tell me something. Because I'm with me all the time. I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. You're full of shit. I still know it.
Yeah, that's you totally, dude. And I'm just as much full of shit too. It's like the thing with life is like you can't. As much as you need to hold yourself accountable, you got to have a short-term memory. Like whatever you did yesterday or whatever little thing you should have done and you didn't do it. Like, dude, don't ridicule yourself for it. And you don't be, you just got to be able to, like, I think just having a short-term memory is so valuable in life because good things, being at the top of the mountain, it can be difficult, but also, at the bottom, it's sometimes easier to be hungry and trying to climb and to trying to be good, and then sometimes you get to the top and you lose that motivation. So I think what I like to do is just have that short-term memory because, like you said, and I totally relate to that because there's days where I'm like, dude, Brett, I drank too much last weekend. I'm exhausted at work on Monday. I ain't selling shit. I'm not doing anything. Like, dude, I'm a terrible version of myself. And literally, I have to just like say, fuck it, dude. Just go to this appointment. If instead of performing a sales pitch, now I'm changing my game. I'm just gonna hand him a business card. I'm just gonna go to these 10 places that I have to go to. Versus, I'm not gonna sell very well, but this kind of goes back to just showing up. This just going to class. I'm not taking any notes. I'm not giving a sales pitch, but I'm just going to at least do something that makes me feel half human again. because I lose respect for myself too, and those are when you really turn on yourself. Is that's when it can get dark, and so of having that short-term memory allows you to have that freedom of just not of wallowing in shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'm not good because I didn't do this task, or like, dude, getting away from that self, almost like loathing, dude, because that is the bad shit. And some people hang on to that way too hard and are way too hard on themselves. And really, life is like, no one cares. Like, hey, better luck tomorrow. Start over. Short-term memory.
I like that. Just keep your eyes on the prize, essentially. It's so easy. They say depression is when you're stuck in the past and anxiety is when you're stuck in the future. And it makes a lot of sense. And like you say, if you keep looking backwards, it's hard to be walking forward.
And I think, dude, living in the past, there's something great about it. You should, but I don't know, man. I really would just try to be as present as possible and just realize that everybody has ups and downs, man. And some people, dude, look at Robin Williams. He looked like the jolliest guy on earth. And a lot of people with depression put it on. When they're almost over the top.
Yeah.
And those are the people who are the most troubled. So I really can't tell when people are truly happy or depressed, because in a public setting, we all have just been trained by society to tell them, dude, life is great, man. Get my numbers, Oh, man, we got a trip coming up. It's like, all that's total bullshit. And that's why another thing, I think you really should try to put yourself around people you think, one, you want to be like, but also people you trust with who you are being you. Because I've tried to hang out in circles that, they maybe made more money, or they were even a better mountain biker or something. But I wasn't happy around those people, and I was fake. And I knew I was fake. It was like, we know when we're not being honest.
Right.
And those are some of the most unhappy times of my life, dude.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You guessed one of my questions again. I was just going to say, what do you do to surround yourself with people that, you want to hang out with people that are going to make you better and at least let you be yourself.
Yeah.
So, I know when you get depressed, like you said, or you're just not feeling yourself, you kind of put on this front in public, and if you're a bummer all the time, you're not really going to have any friends. So, it's kind of
like, there's an attractiveness to confidence. People are attracted to confidence. I think that's like a law, of the universe. Like, so go ahead.
Oh, I just was asking, like, for anybody out there who might be, I don't know, especially getting older, it's hard to make new friends and shit. You're not in school anymore, you're not at college, maybe your job is a little more time to yourself, at a desk or something like that. How do you go about meeting just badass people? Of course, by chance sometimes, but what can you do to kind of not like cut your old friends and find just awesome new millionaire friends, but, take steps in the right direction to surround yourself with just positivity? Yeah,
a great question. And for me, I have a really easy answer, and I just find volunteering. I volunteer as a coach for the A-team, and I also I do the team captain for Breakaway Bikes, and I give my time to that. And through that, dude, I'm around like-minded human beings. So I'm a big proponent of whatever you're into, have the courage to reach out, whether it's through, something with the town, the city, but find like-minded people who do the hobbies you want. Like, for instance, my mom, she's retired now, but she's a very avid hiker and not a canoeer, but a kayaker. Dude, she just goes out and, she's divorced, old single lady, but she just goes out and she meets people who kayak. And then she forms great friendships. She goes out and gets in the wanderers of Sonoma County. She'll go out and just go on these crazy ass hikes. And over the past 2 years, she's made some really great friends. They bring a little wine and cheese on it, and it's fun. And there's some really awkward ducks who do that, and then there's some really like diamonds in the rough.
Yeah.
Like so just that's what I think too. It's like when I do these volunteer things, dude, I tell you what, I meet some weird ass people.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like I'm like, holy crap, yeah, you do this is like your main thing, right? And that's great. And I, treat them with kindness, and it's awkward for both of us. But also then I meet some just awesome people. And so it stokes the fire, and I think giving back, and that's crucial just in overall happiness. Because, dude, some days I'll have a bad day at work, bad month. I'm not selling anything. But at least when I go volunteer and help kids get good at bikes, what it does, it just gets my mind off of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not stuck at home wallowing. It gets me out of the house early on a Saturday morning, in sunshine, in nature, and it just allows me not to wallow. Mm-hmm. And I think getting around other positive, like-minded people, it can be as easy as volunteering. It can be as easy as joining a group, But I think you gotta put it on yourself to always be trying to make new friends and to just keep it fresh. And I tell you what, I think there's nothing wrong with hacking out your old friends. If you got some friends who are just baggage and they're boozers and they're still hitting it like it's we're 18,
right.
Dude, cut that limb off, And that's not even rude. That's not even mean. It is this life. You can't make anybody happy unless you're happy. So if you're unhappy but you're a loyal friend, sorry, buddy, that's a lose for you. But if you're happy and you had to let them go, man, I've done that with great friends.
Yeah.
And I did it about 3 years ago, and for about 18 months, I was wallowing in the past, and I was looking backwards, and I was having these weird thoughts of God, I miss my friends. These are the only guys who get me. How'll I ever get past it? And really looking back, with real sadness. These are my boys since middle school. These are my loyal friends. They'll die for me, whatever. It took 18 months to get out of that. And I tell you what, I hardly see these guys. I love them to death when I do see them. It doesn't miss a beat. But I even made some phone calls hey, dude, I'm trying to quit this right now, quit that right now. Mm-hmm. And this is just for me, man. And I tell you what, none of them were upset. None of them were mean. None of them felt disrespected. It was, Brett, do what you got to do, man. And that act alone, it wasn't overnight, and it was sad and hard at times. But 3 years later, couldn't be happier with my new friends and where life is going.
Well said, man. Yeah. That's fucking great. I mean, this has been better than I even imagined, and I thought it would be kick-ass. So,
yeah.
Thanks, dude. I super appreciate you coming by.
Oh, Alex, anything, man. Sweet.
All right. Take care, y'all.
Peace.